Alright, coolio. Just gonna pull up your stream then.
Yep, just give me 2 seconds, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go live on JRTA 4 then. Okay, should be live.
Okay, everything looks good. I'm going to switch over the audio.
Okay. Alright, just let me know when we're ready to go and I can give a quick introduction to the run and just leap straight in. I'm going to assume that we are ready to go, so hello everyone, I am Drakodan again. I was here yesterday running Sonic Adventure 2 and now I'm here running Sparkster SNES version on normal difficulty, which is the main difficulty of the game. This game was recently held, the world record was held by our own Blecky actually, and Tonic is another notable runner of this game who has run it at AGDQ before. Tonic was going to be with me today for co-commentary, but he actually can't be with us, so I'm afraid you are stuck with me for the duration of this run. So I'm going to do my best to put on a good show, and we're just going to leap right in. Time starts when I select new game, so I'm just going to wait for a confirmation from hosts or whoever else of when I should go when everyone is completely ready. Indeed, Catboo. Ah, sorry, the Discord. Just give a countdown. Alright then, okay. I am just ready to go then, and I will begin in that case. So, without further ado, 3, 2, 1, go. So, this is Sparkster. For those who haven't seen this run before, this game is really, really fast. The main mode of transport that we have in this game is the rocket boost, which we're using to as much effect as we can immediately, and we frequently interpose this with the rolling attack, which is not present in any other Rocket Knight game, which is performed with the L and R triggers. The rocket boost and the rolling attacks combined create for some very efficient and routing-based movement. The rolling attacks should generally be used whenever I can't use a rocket boost in between charges, but I also can't overuse the rolling attacks too much, since there's a hidden value in this game called exhaustion, which fills up the more I do rolling attacks. Generally, after 6 straight rolling attacks, I hit the exhaustion limit and lose control of Sparkster for 3 seconds. And that happens continually as well, so it's important to know how to moderate it and route rolling attacks into the run so that you can go as fast as possible without ever hitting exhaustion. Ways to moderate exhaustion and make sure that you never hit it are by touching the ground frequently. This seems to help drain exhaustion, and also taking damage seems to completely drain the exhaustion meter. So there are certain spots where I'm going to be aiming to damage boost, especially against bosses, not only to deal damage as quickly as possible, but also to make sure that I don't get exhausted. Speaking of damage, it is... oh, wow, nice input there. I got caught on something and didn't rocket boost upwards. So yeah, speaking of damage, you can see that in the top right we have the health bar, and I reached the end of the stage with half my health bar gone. That is not as much damage as I would like to have taken, because as you can see on the stage clear screen here now, we have a life bonus. This counts up at the end of every stage, and it lasts longer the more life we have remaining, so ideally I actually want to damage boost as much as possible and end each stage with as little health as possible. But I also can't damage boost everywhere that I would maybe want to, because one of the main elements of running this game is working with lag reduction strats. This game is extremely laggy, being a SNES game, and there's a lot of visually intense stuff going on and a lot of calculations that the game is doing, so a lot of lag happens. Lag also occurs generally whenever you take damage, so even though we can potentially save time by taking damage, since it reduces the score countdown, it also lengthens the time the run takes due to the lag it causes. So damage boosting is more about knowing where and when to take damage, both to save time in the moment and with the score countdown, whilst taking into account the lag it causes. For the most part, most of the damage boosting is going to be against the boss fights, to just try and keep attacking them as efficiently as possible. Because the most efficient way to fight many bosses, this one being a exception, we use the sword on this boss since there's no other reliable way to keep dealing damage to it. But for most of the bosses, we're going to see as much rolling attacking and rocket boosting as possible. The damage values in this game are as follows. The sword projectile that gets fired out deals 3 damage, the sword swipe itself deals 4 damage, a rolling attack deals 5 damage, and the rocket boost deals 6 damage. So, if possible, it's best to use the rocket boost since it deals the most damage, but then since we can't rocket boost all the time, the rest of the time we want to be dealing damage with the rolling attack if we can help it. And since damage boosting drains the exhaustion meter, that's very handy for bosses, so most of the bosses, the stage 3 one that's going to be coming up at the end of this stage is going to be actually the single biggest example of looking at damage boosting strats. So, I mentioned a little bit before about how much lag reduction plays a factor in this game. This is a good example of lag reduction in effect right now. I'm not only not doing any inputs, I actually don't really have my hands on the controller right now, and I won't do for the next minute. This is an auto-scroller section where I can choose to fight these enemies that are flying around, but it doesn't serve any purpose because this being an auto-scroller, I can't save time, I can only stand to lose time by causing lag in the game, and fighting these enemies just causes more destruction animations and then more enemies come on to replace them. So the only thing I gain from fighting enemies in this section is actually slowing the game down. So I just do nothing and wait for the next playable section to come up. And even though I'm damage boosting on the enemies, it's not going to make any difference since halfway through the stage we reach some health pickups which are going to restore all the lost health anyway. This is also repeated in the second auto-scroller, stage 7, which previously people tried to route in destroying enemies as efficiently as possible to reduce the effects on screen, but I've found that with a different strat, which we'll simply see when I get there, we can eliminate lag more or less altogether with very little effort. So we get to the mini-boss of this stage. Damage routing for this boss is 5 rocket boosts, followed by any attack to finish off. Sword swipe is the quickest way to do it, it saves some frames rather than charging another rocket boost. And a small optimization here that I don't think is even present in the TAS. The TAS goes to the very right of the screen here, when getting dropped off by the bird here, which bounces you up slightly. If you're in the middle of the screen though, it bounces you straight down, which saves a little bit of time. And from here we simply need to go from robot to robot, boosting down as soon as we gain control on each tier. Okay, that's not a bad damage boost actually. Like I said, I want to end the stages with as little health as possible, so being that I damage boosted but then immediately rocket boosted down, I don't mind that damage boost that I just took at all. These guys can have very variable lag. The places they come on are random, and the attack patterns they produce are random as well, which also seems to cause variable lag. This is fairly lagless so far though, so yeah, that was good. So entering the stage 3 boss, as we're saying, rolling attacks are good, and damage boosting is good, so let's combine those things. On normal mode, we have to destroy the first 5 fragments of this thing, and now we're simply going to rolling attack him to death in phase 2. If I die, I can hopefully finish him. Good, that was optimal. That was actually very close, but I successfully implemented Death Abuse there. That's the only spot in the run where you can afford to die and then continue to finish a boss off, which also gives me the optimal life bonus of 0. Because once Sparkster is dead, the bird can keep attacking independently, and if you destroy the boss, it interrupts the death animation. So getting into stage 4, this is a really technical stage with... I will largely let it speak for itself because I kind of need to focus on what I'm doing in this stage. This laser corridor is very important. This is a very laggy part of the game, and if your damage routing is not correct for these doors, it takes 4 hits to destroy them, but instead we try to do it in 3. Oh, I love that strat. 5 rolling attacks, bringing me almost to the exhaustion limit, followed by a diagonal boost to ricochet off walls. That's beautiful. I love strats like that in this game, and I got damage loss through the steam vents as well. Which does mean that I need to be careful not to get exhausted here, but this pace for this stage is insane right now. Oh yeah, a music change being at this spot means very good pace. So from here we've just got straight momentum preservation on this straightaway. This is a element of movement in this game which isn't really apparent. You don't want to rolling attack as soon as you get out of a boost, because after you leave a boost, when you're airborne at least, you actually conserve the momentum that you had, and it transfers into your helpless state as you're falling. You only want to rolling attack after that naturally decays, otherwise rolling attack immediately just resets your speed to a lower value immediately, and it just loses time. So now we're going to try and combine rocket boosts and rolling attacks as much as possible on this boss to deal damage efficiently, and we did that fairly well. Could have stood to take a little more damage on that boss, but, you know, can't get everything, and honestly, that boss is dangerous to fight with low health. The arms deal 1 heart of damage per hit, and the main body deals half a heart of damage, but also a weird quirk of invincibility in this game is that rocket boosting will reset your iframes. It will completely remove your iframes. So if you rocket boost right after taking a hit, you can actually unintentionally take 2 hits very quickly back to back, which I'm certain you can imagine is a very bad thing in some circumstances if you're taking high damage value hits. So a bit of a sloppy start to stage 5, but this should be okay. We do this route to skip the maze and immediately get to the stage's mini-boss, which I'm going to try a damage route to reduce the number of hits in this fight by 1. I've already wasted too much time from taking damage for it to be worth it. And I completely messed up the route. Never mind. Still okay. And phase 2 is virtually more of the same. Alright. Now this skip used to be very difficult, but I have a setup of jumping into the ceiling. Thanks, Blecky. That works really well. And now we simply need to progress to the stage boss. The Desert Worm is extremely random and extremely laggy. I'm just going to have to hope that I can get a good pattern and hopefully get a 1 cycle. It's completely impossible to RNG manipulate this guy. The variants, like the factors that determine his behavior include the time you come out of the tunnel, whether you pick up the apple coming out of the tunnel. There's a lot of things that go into determining this guy's RNG, so it's never going to be practical to manipulate. That was still an okay fight. A 2 cycle, but I got it deathless, so I can't complain too much. And yeah, there's a lot going on in that fight, and I actually have to be fairly careful since you can take damage very rapidly on that fight. The worst thing that can happen on that fight actually is doing too much damage to the segments of his body, which causes him to split off. It's hard enough to fight just 1 boss on the screen, but if you cause multiple bosses to be on the screen, all attacking and travelling independently, that fight gets out of control really fast. I don't know what damage route I'm trying to use here. It worked though. So, this is just a little thing I choose to do, boosting into this top corner. I don't know that it saves time, but it gets destruction off screen, so I personally think it may help with lag reduction. I don't have that confirmed though. And now just trying to get through these drums as clean as possible. That was nicely clean. And now one of the more difficult screens in the game for platforming. This jump is very precise. Got it, nice. There's only a short frame window for that jump, and it's quite difficult to get a feel for, so I'm always glad when I get that. It sets up your position for the rest of that corridor very well, too. And now, do not fall into the tubes. There we go. Very good. Yeah, this stage is very healthy pace so far, actually. And I kind of want the health. It's worth going back for the health there, because the Stage 6 boss is one of the most threatening parts of the entire game. We're going to have a showdown with our counterpart knight, Axel Gear. And this guy is extremely threatening. He can deal damage faster than anything else in the game. And even with full health, if he decides to use the wrong attack patterns, we're still pretty much just going to take a death straight up. What I want to see is the kick attack, because it deals only half a heart of damage, and he'll come into the corner, which will allow me to use a manipulation strat. That's the attack I don't want to see. This is fine. That would have killed me if that hit me. That flame attack deals 2 hearts of damage, so I came very close to dying there, but that was still an okay fight. Oh my god, my heart's beating a million miles an hour after that fight. This run is extremely healthy right now. This is just about everything I could ask for from a run so far. So, as we're reaching Stage 7, I mentioned before about... This is another auto-scroller with lag reduction strats. Stage 3 was in the region of do absolutely nothing. It's kind of the same for Stage 7, except we need to move into position first. I found that if you go into the very up left corner, not much is on screen, so not much lag happens, and almost nothing hits you on top of that as well. So it's actually a safe spot to just stay in the top left. And the small amount of damage that you can take, you can just heal off on the mini-boss that comes halfway through the stage. But I now need to take the time to explain the boss of this stage. Anyone who has seen this game before and knows the boss that's coming up, they may be feeling a little frightened right now. This game, I think this game's made 2 GDQ appearances. Stage 7 boss has tarnished both of them, because it's the boxing fight in space with Axel Gear's mech, and up until quite recently, until I started putting some serious work into working out boss AI, nobody really understood how this fight worked, and the way to handle this fight wasn't well known. The common thing that seems to happen is that you simply get beaten down immediately. That Axel's mech just seems far stronger than yours, far faster than yours, and far tougher than yours, and he simply beats you to a pulp immediately. I've actually found, though, through some memory value testing, that Axel's mech is actually identical to yours. His health is 224, which is the same as yours. Like currently now, the health count in the top right, it's represented by hearts, but the numerical value for it is 224, which is the same as Axel's mech. And as for the damage that his arms cause, it's the same as yours. A normal jab will cause 8 damage, but that's not the most efficient way to deal damage. What we want to do is use 1-2 punches, and by that I mean if you say if you miss a left jab and then immediately follow it up with a right straight, you'll do extra damage. The base value for that hit is 12, and the faster that hit comes out after the first miss, it deals even more damage on top of that, up to a maximum of 20. So being that he has 224 health, the fight can be finished in as little as 11 hits if you place your hits very well. And I have a fairly consistent manipulation strat to get 6 or 7 solid hits in as soon as the fight begins, which typically knocks him into phase 2, which is entirely scripted. And then if I play phase 2 well enough, I knock him straight into phase 3, which is his desperate berserk rush attack when he reaches 25% health, in which he simply rushes at you and trades hits constantly until you are dead. That's the thing that gets people killed in this fight. They take a while to get him to that point, losing health along the way, and then by the time he does his berserk rush, they just don't have the health to deal with it. The point of this strat is that not only does it get the fight over quickly, we are hopefully going to get to that phase of the fight with as much health as possible remaining, so I can just afford to damage race him and stand there and trade hits with him. And he should hopefully go down first. So this has ruined 2 up to that point well-paced marathon runs so far at GDQs. Hopefully this is going to be the redemption. People can hopefully finally see that there is nothing to be afraid of in this boss. Nothing at all. It's not like he could give me a random berserk rush in phase 1 or anything like that. And worse yet, even if he does, that is technically the best thing I could ask for, because that can result in the fastest boss fights. It's also just the most dangerous thing that can happen. Right. Wish me luck. I'm just going to focus on this until the fight is over. Because this, I mean, I make light of it, but this is extremely dangerous. Oh, what are you doing? Alright, we'll just whittle the guard down. That works. I'll take that as a fight. I don't really understand what happened, but I'll take it. That fight didn't really go as I expected. He just decided to do absolutely nothing at all. Alright, so we're entering the final stage of the run. That was very anticlimactic, Jesus. Entering the final stage of the run right now. After a really difficult boss, After a difficult boss, let's start the last stage with 3D graphics and some instant death hazards. These missiles, I need to hide in these divots to avoid these, because if the missiles hit me at any point, it's instant death, regardless of remaining health. The fire doesn't immediately kill me, but I don't want to damage boost through it because I want to save health as much as possible in this stage. This stage is super dangerous. Alright. Good, 5 cycle. You can have an extra missile cycle there if you take too long, which would make 6 cycles. It is possible to only get 4 missile cycles there, but that is task quality, and I've only managed it twice in practice, aided by save states. I don't think it's going to ever be RTA possible to skip a missile cycle there. So now ideally I want to take no more hits because there's 2 more hearts worth of health at the end of this corridor, and I really want to enter the next mini-boss with as much health as possible. Okay, well that did half a heart, so that counts. Right, the core is, in my opinion, the worst fight in this game. People hate the robot duel, they should hate this fight. This is the laggiest part of the game, and it's extremely dangerous to do quickly. I damage boost as much as possible, and I want to damage boost on the correct things as well. The blue crystals deal a full heart of damage per hit, the yellow rings only deal half a heart per hit, and remember what I said about, okay, that was extremely clean. Remember what I said about rocket boosting will reset your iframes? Well, clearly you want a rocket boost to deal damage, but that just means you're going to take damage even faster, so it's extremely dangerous to try and weigh that up and play it well. But either way, that was really clean, can't complain. So now we just have the final corridor leading into the final boss of the run. Having half a heart lost here is fine, because the final... okay, never mind. The final boss only deals a full heart of damage with all of his forms of attack, so if you were half a heart down, you're still basically at full health in terms of the number of hits you can take. So, this final boss is entirely RNG. There is no way to manipulate this guy's actions as far as I know. I simply have to hope that I get the right attack patterns, which is not fire along the ground. And time is when he explodes after I defeat him. I'm also using sword swipes instead of anything else because rocket boosting against this guy is extremely dangerous. Every time I take damage though, I can get 2 free rolling attacks in. This RNG is super good. This is the end of the run. And I'm going to rolling attack now to damage boost. Time! That run was extremely good. Oh my god, I just got another marathon run that was seconds off my PB. 1922/23, my PB is 1914. So that was within 10 seconds of my PB/world record. That run was phenomenally good. I'm so glad that that went as clean as it did, because I might have trivialized a lot of that game and made a lot of stuff look really simple. It really isn't. The bosses are extremely threatening and random. I just got good patterns everywhere, and nothing went seriously wrong in the stages either. That was just... oh, I couldn't have asked for a better showing of the game than that. Well, I mean, technically I did a marathon run a couple of weeks ago where I was 1 second off my PB, but we'll pretend that one never happened. Either way, I hope that run was enjoyable for everyone to watch. I certainly enjoyed playing it just there. And make sure you don't go anywhere, because apparently next up we've got Rockman 5 Air Sliding I'm seeing on the schedule. So, if you would like to proceed with the schedule, I will just get off as soon as I can, and I will let you guys proceed. So, this has been Sparkster SNES, really good speed game. I would recommend it for anyone who loves 2D platformers with really tight movement, really fast paced, and very challenging to run. And I have been Drakodan, thanks very much for the opportunity to run here. It's been a lot of fun, and this has been a great event. You guys have been awesome in raising funds for Raindrop Dry. So I will see you guys later. Thanks again very much, and thank you for watching.
Okay, thank you very much for the run.
I need to go. That was stressful. Thank you, though, definitely. I will just let you set up for the next run.
Okay, thanks. Shouldn't be too long here.